Hey there, if you're looking for the right dog trainer for you and your pup here in the Pulaski area, you are in the right place. We're going to walk you through everything you need to know, so let's get right to it.
You know, life with a dog in Pulaski is pretty special, isn't it? You get those nice, quiet walks in the neighborhood, but you also have all that open country to explore. And you want to be able to enjoy all of it, right? Well, that's where good training really comes in.
So, let's talk about the goal here. What does a well-behaved Pulaski pup actually look like in the real world?
I mean, just imagine this. Your dog being able to handle all the fun and excitement of Pulaski Polka Days without getting totally overwhelmed. Or maybe a dog who doesn't even flinch at the sound of farm equipment coming from a nearby field. That's the kind of real-world training that makes a huge difference for you and your dog.
And the best way to get there is with something called positive reinforcement. Basically, it's all about rewarding the good stuff, the behaviors you want to see, instead of punishing the ones you don't. This way of training just works better. And it also builds up your dog's confidence and makes that bond between you two even stronger.
Okay, so we know what we're aiming for and the method we want to use. Now let's figure out how that training actually gets delivered. There are a few different formats, and the best one for you really depends on your dog and your own lifestyle.
You're going to run into three main options. First up, group classes. These are great for getting your dog used to other dogs and people, and learning to listen even with distractions. Then you have private sessions. These are perfect for that one-on-one focus, especially for tackling specific things that only happen at home. And finally, there's board and train. This is a more intensive program where your dog lives with the trainer for a bit. It can be a really solid choice if your schedule is super packed.
All right, this next part is really important. A trainer's qualifications. How do you actually know who's an expert and who you can trust with your best friend?
Yeah, I know. These just look like a bunch of letters, but they are so important. Seeing something like CPD-TK means that trainer has actually passed a real science-based test on training. And for more complex stuff like deep-seated fear or aggression, a certification like CBCCK tells you you're dealing with a specialist who has advanced knowledge.
And here's why this is so crucial in Wisconsin. The state doesn't actually license dog trainers. That means, technically, anyone can say they're a trainer. So these certifications are really your best way to know that someone is a true professional who is committed to safe and humane methods.
Okay, let's talk about the practical stuff, the money and the rules. We'll look at what you can expect to budget for training around here and go over a few key local regulations every dog owner should know.
So here's a rough idea of what you can expect to pay around Pulaski. For a typical 6-week group class, you're probably looking at somewhere between $120 and $250. A single 1-hour private lesson usually runs about $80 to $120. And as you can see, the more intensive options like an in-home package or a board and train program will be a bigger investment. This should give you a good starting point for budgeting.
And just a quick heads up on some local rules. First, rabies vaccination, it's not a suggestion, it's state law. Also, when you're out in public, your dog has to be under your control. A leash is obviously the best way to do that. And finally, just be a good neighbor and keep an eye on excessive barking, because that can actually be a nuisance violation. Good training helps with all of this stuff.
Okay, we are almost there. To make sure you feel totally confident when you start calling trainers, we've put together a little checklist of questions you should ask.
So when you get a trainer on the phone, you'll want to have these questions ready. First, ask about their training philosophy. You're listening for positive reinforcement. Definitely ask about their certifications. Ask them how they'd create a specific plan for your dog and your goals. Get a clear breakdown of all the fees and their policies. And here's a big one. If you're dealing with a bigger behavior issue, ask if they're willing to work with your vet. Hitting these points will tell you a lot.
Okay, so once the training starts, you have to practice, right? Consistency is everything. So where can you go around here to work on these new skills out in the real world?
Well, you've got some really great local spots to do that. The Pulaski Dog Park is awesome for working on things like recall in a safe, fenced-in space. And if you want to practice your leash skills with some distractions around, the trails at Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary or Baird Creek Parkway are perfect for that.
You know, at the end of the day, this is what it's all for. Finding the right person to help you is really the first step to having a happier dog and, let's be honest, a much less stressed you. It just opens the door to enjoying all those little moments, whether you're at the park, taking a stroll downtown, or just having a dog who can calmly greet neighbors at your door.